Welcome to One to One with Simon Jordan. Next week we're going to do a special specifically on Spurs, so do not forget to leave your questions in the comment sections below and I will get to them accordingly. There's clubs that have the real feel and the fibre and the fabric of being a club that can really rattle amongst the big clubs. Man United are obviously in the middle of a rebuild. They've been under this rebuild for some time, but I think they're going to most likely win a trophy this season. But there were three things that I think they could possibly do. I think they can get a better manager. I think they can recruit a centre forward. And I also think one of the key components that's missing from Man United is probably a link between the boardroom and the playing squad. Obviously, we've got the situation with the Man United owners where the Glazers are completely and utterly vilified. But that to one side, I think a director of football that is actually more visible, more vociferous and more instrumental in the way that Man United recruit and develop would probably be the blueprint that I was following if I had three things I needed to do. I think there's an argument to be made that some of the quality has dropped in the Premier League, but I'm not sure I'm on that side of the argument. I think what we're seeing is a greater level of British players coming through with a higher technical ability. We will always have this argument about some of the best players seemingly wanting to disappear off to the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas of the world. That supports an argument that the best players aren't in our league. And then you see Eden Hazard and Gareth Bale being put up for offers by Real Madrid. I think the best players, more often than not, en masse, maybe not as individuals, because Lionel Messi's not in this division and neither is Cristiano Ronaldo, but en masse, as a mass product, I still think that we have the best quality of teams, of competition, and now the next generation of English players are coming through that are giving us real quality as a matter of course. That's a difficult one for me because the only reason I invested in football was because Crystal Palace was the team my father played for, the one that I supported, the one that I'd had schoolboy forms for, and the one that touched the sentiments. If it was looking at the fundamentals of a football club, I would say that an Everton or a Leeds United would be a team that would really interest me because of the harnessing of the inordinate amount of potential that these clubs have. You know, Leeds are this club that I've watched when we played against them when I was in charge at Palace. There was always this grand feel about them. And also obviously seeing them through the eyes of people like Neil Warnock that used to work for me and ultimately managed Leeds and saw the size and power of this football club and the scale and potential of it intrigues and interests me. And it's clubs that have the real feel and the fibre and the fabric of being a club that can really rattle amongst the big clubs, but also has such resonance and meaning in the community. So I probably would say, not that Red Rosini needs my penny, that Leeds would be an interesting club for me. Dragon's Den, I was actually offered the first ever season of Dragon's Den, turned it down because I didn't understand why I would do a show that A was on BBC Two and B required me to put money in. I thought, well, actually, I've got a Premier League side, you should actually be giving me the money to invest in the particular ideas that people are going to pitch. I ended up doing an ITV show called Fortune Millionaire Giveaway with Duncan Bannatyne, Jeffrey Archer, Kanya King that started the Mobos, and David Gold, daughter Jacqueline Gold. So I turned it down for my sins, all for me. Theo Pafitis, my old mate, who was the Millwall chairman, took my spot. He'll dispute that. I think there's no uniform trait that you look for in a manager because each club has a different dynamic, a different feel and a different dimension. What I looked for was enthusiasm, courage of the convictions. I also tried to give people very tricky interviews so that you could get the real person in front of you rather than the interview face. Case in point, topical subject, Steve Bruce. When I interviewed him in 2001 for the Palace job, I'd seen him earlier on in the season play, being a Huddersfield Town manager, thought he was a dreadful individual in terms of his relationship with his chairman, told his chairman, if I was you, I'd fire that particular individual. To roll forward a year, I'm interviewing, and the first question I said to Brucey was, I've got ambitions for this club. I want somebody that's going to have the courage of the convictions. I saw you last year, you were complete and utter. Why would I want you to come and be my manager? That concentrated his mind and he gave me a very good answer. But what you really look for is you look for someone that embraces all the values that you have of your football club. If you're an owner that knows your football club, knows what it represents to the fans, what its DNA looks like, and I know it's an overused expression, but what it really is and what it really could be, rather than what you wish it were, wish it will be, then you try to get a manager that understands. You want a youth development policy that ticks the boxes there. You want strong, strident approaches in the media. You're ambitious, you're energetic, you're vociferous. You can manage up, not just your players, you can manage your relationship with the guy that ultimately employs you, which is the chairman. So I would look for somebody that had all of those attributes, and also had somebody that would challenge me, that wouldn't just accept the fact that I would give you a certain thing, that would push me. I'd say, this is the budget, I want a manager that pushes me a little bit, that pushes the envelope. And I got them in people like Neil Warnock and Steve Bruce, and even with Ian Dowie. Yes, Sports Spy, very much so. I'm a very big fan of Andy Goldstein's and Jason Gundy. It's a certain type of audience, but I think it's a knockabout show which has some good thinking behind it. I think both Jason and Andy Goldstein are excellent at what they do. I've done the show a couple of times myself. I like the humour, I like the irreverence, I like the energy. I think it's a great show, so absolutely I do listen to it, yeah. Don't forget, next week is a Spurs special, if there is such a thing. Don't forget to leave your questions in the comment sections below.